That evening was quieter than most. The sun was already slipping down behind the houses across the street, and the living room was bathed in that soft orange light that always makes the walls look warmer than they really are. I had just finished washing the dishes and sat down with a cup of tea, thinking the day was finally winding down, but then I heard it, the sound of my son's door creaking shut upstairs, not slammed, not casually pushed, but closed deliberately. That sound immediately made my chest tighten, because whenever he closed it like that, it meant something was weighing on him. For weeks, maybe months, I'd felt a distance growing between us. He was present at dinner, polite in conversation, but his eyes carried something unspoken, as if a storm was trapped behind them. And as a parent, you notice these things, not in the words, but in the silence. I sat there staring at the hallway, debating, should I go up, should I wait? I didn't want to push him, but just when I set my tea down, I heard soft footsteps on the stairs. He came down slowly, each step heavier than the last, and when he reached the bottom, he stood there fidgeting, eyes lowered, hands rubbing against each other nervously. Then, without a word, he walked past me and into the living room. He sat on the couch across from me, his shoulders hunched forward, and after a long pause, he lifted his head, met my eyes, and said in the quietest voice, "Mom, can I tell you something? But please, don't get mad." At that moment, I knew whatever he was holding inside was big. My heart ached just hearing those words, "Don't get mad," because when your child says that, it means they've been carrying fear along with their secret. Fear of judgment, fear of disappointment, fear of losing the safe space they should always feel with you. I tried to keep my voice calm, steady, like a still pond hiding ripples beneath the surface. "Sweetheart," I said gently, "you can tell me anything, I promise." He hesitated, chewing the inside of his lip, his fingers drumming against his knees. I could see the conflict inside him, like he was standing at the edge of a cliff, deciding whether to jump. Finally, he whispered, "I've been keeping something from you, something I didn't know how to say, and it's been eating me alive." I leaned forward, nodding, giving him the space to take his time. My hands wanted to reach for his, but I knew he needed to get there on his own. His voice cracked as he continued, "Every night when I close my eyes, I think about it, and in the mornings when I see you smile at me, I feel like I'm lying to you." The way his words trembled, half confession, half cry for help, made my throat tighten. My mind was racing, filling in 100 possible answers, each one heavier than the last, and then he took a deep breath, glanced at me with eyes glassy from holding back tears, and said the words that shattered the silence between us, "Mom, I need to tell you the truth about everything." Those words, the truth, about everything, hung in the air like thunder that hadn't yet broken into a storm. I swallowed hard, keeping my face calm even as my chest pounded. "Okay," I said softly, "I'm listening. Whatever it is, we'll face it together." He nodded, but I could see how hard it was for him to push the words out. His shoulders were tense, his hands twisting together like he was fighting himself. "Mom," he whispered, "I've been different lately. I know you've noticed. I try to smile at dinner, laugh at your jokes, pretend I'm fine, but inside I feel like I'm sinking. My heart broke at every syllable." "I thought I could handle it," he said, his voice trembling. "I thought if I just stayed quiet, it would go away, but it hasn't. It's only gotten heavier." I wanted to reach across and hold him, to tell him he wasn't alone, but I forced myself to wait, to let him say it all, without interruption. Finally, with tears rolling down his cheeks, he whispered the words I'll never forget. "I've been hiding something so big. I didn't think you'd still love me if you knew." For a second, everything inside me froze. My son, the boy I raised, the one who once held my hand to cross the street, truly believed my love could be conditional, and in that moment nothing else mattered, not the secret, not the silence, only making sure he knew the truth, that my love was unshakable. I leaned in, my own eyes burning with tears, and whispered back, "There's nothing, nothing you could ever tell me that would make me stop loving you." He broke then, sobbing into his hands, the dam finally cracking open. And that was the moment he began to tell me everything. When he finally lifted his head, his face was streaked with tears, but his eyes, those same eyes I'd stared into since the day he was born, were filled with a kind of raw honesty I'd never seen before. "Mom," his voice cracked, "I've been carrying this for so long, and it's been eating me alive." I stayed silent, just nodding, my hands gripping the edge of the couch so I wouldn't reach out too soon. He needed to say it. He drew a shaky breath, like he was standing on the edge of a cliff. "I don't fit in," he said finally, "not with my friends, not at school, not even with Dad sometimes. I feel like I'm broken, like there's something wrong with me." The words hit me like knives. I had seen the loneliness in his eyes, the way he drifted off during dinner, but I had chalked it up to teenage moods, school stress, anything but this. "I keep thinking," he continued, his voice trembling, "if people knew the real me, they'd laugh or hate me or walk away, so I've been pretending so hard that I don't even know who I am anymore." My throat closed up, and I had to bite my lip to stop it from shaking. He wasn't just confessing pain. He was confessing fear of rejection, fear of being unloved, and for him to believe, even for a second, that I might turn away, that cut deeper than anything I'd ever felt. I slid closer then, slowly, until I was sitting right beside him. I didn't touch him yet. I wanted him to feel my presence, not my pressure. "Son," I whispered, "look at me." His tear-filled eyes met mine. "You don't have to pretend with me, not today, not ever." For the first time that night, I saw a tiny spark in his eyes, hope, fragile but alive, and then, in the smallest, most vulnerable voice, he finally began to tell me what he'd been hiding all along. He swallowed hard, his hands trembling in his lap, his fingers twisted together so tightly his knuckles turned white. For a moment, I thought he might back out, retreat into silence, but then the words slipped out, shaky, almost broken. "Mom, I'm not who you think I am." The air between us seemed to thicken. My heart pounded, but I forced myself to stay still, to breathe, to let him speak. "I've been trying to be this version of me that everyone expects." He continued, his voice low. "The good son, the strong one, the one who never asks for help. But that's not me, not really." His chest rose and fell like he was fighting for oxygen. He pressed his palms into his thighs as if bracing himself. Then he whispered, so soft I almost didn't hear, "I'm scared to show you who I really am. Because what if you don't accept it?" The crack in his voice shattered me. I reached out, finally, and laid my hand over his. His skin was clammy, tense, but he didn't pull away. "Sweetheart," I said, my own tears burning hot, "there is nothing you could say that would make me stop loving you. Nothing." For a second, his lips parted as if he wanted to believe me. Then, finally, he said it, the truth that had been caged inside him for so long. "Mom, I'm not straight. I like guys." The words hung heavy in the air, trembling, fragile but real, and in that moment I saw not weakness, not shame, I saw my son. My brave, terrified, beautiful son. His voice cracked when he said it, and then he dropped his gaze, ashamed of even letting the words escape. His shoulders curled inward like he was trying to make himself disappear. The silence stretched for a heartbeat too long, and I realized that silence was what he was terrified of, that pause where love could die. So I didn't let it linger. I squeezed his hands, leaned closer, and whispered, "Oh, my love, thank you for trusting me." His head snapped up, eyes wide and glistening. "You're not mad. You don't hate me." The fact that those words even left his lips crushed me. I shook my head so fiercely tears spilled down my cheeks. "Hate you? No, never. You are my son, my heart. There is nothing you could ever say that would change that." He broke then. The sobs came hard and fast, and I pulled him into my arms. For a moment, he was my little boy again, curled against me, finally letting out years of fear and hiding. But even as I held him, even as I whispered, "You are safe, you are loved, you are enough," I saw something flicker in his eyes when he pulled back. A new fear. "Mom," he said slowly, carefully, "you don't understand. Dad doesn't know, and if he finds out—" The way his voice trembled made my chest ache, because suddenly I realized this wasn't just about me accepting him. It was about whether his father ever would. His words hit me like a stone to the chest. "Dad doesn't know, and if he finds out—" He trailed off, but he didn't need to finish. I could hear the storm in his silence. I brushed his hair back from his forehead, trying to catch his eyes, but he was staring past me, like the wall itself was safer than looking at me. "What makes you think your father wouldn't understand?" I asked gently, though deep down I already knew. His father loved him, of course, but love doesn't always translate into acceptance. He gave a bitter little laugh, sharp and shaky. "Because I've heard him, Mom. The jokes at the dinner table, the way he talks when he doesn't think anyone's listening. He doesn't mean to sound cruel, but he does, and I can't be that disappointment he's always warned me about." My heart shattered. All those moments I'd brushed off as harmless comments. He had been collecting them, storing them like proof that he would never be enough. I cupped his face in my hands, forcing him to meet my eyes. "Listen to me. You are not a disappointment, not to me, and not to him either. He may not understand right away, but that's not your burden to carry alone. Do you hear me?" Tears welled in his eyes again. "But what if he turns his back on me? What if I lose him forever?" That question sliced me deeper than anything he'd confessed so far, because the truth was, I didn't know the answer. I just knew one thing for certain. "You will never lose me," I whispered, pulling him into my arms again. "Never, no matter what." But as I held him, I couldn't shake the thought. What if his fears weren't just in his head? What if his father really wasn't ready to hear the truth? The room felt heavier now, like even the air understood the weight of his secret. He leaned back against the bed frame, his hands twisted together, restless, like he was trying to wring the fear out of his body. "I've thought about running away," he admitted suddenly, his voice almost breaking. "Not far, just away from here, somewhere I don't have to hide." My throat tightened. "You don't have to run away, sweetheart. This is your home. You belong here. But what if home isn't safe?" He shot back, his voice sharp, trembling. Then his tone softened, guilt washing over his face. "Not with you, Mom. You've always been safe, but with him, I don't know." That admission broke something in me. The thought that my own child felt like he couldn't breathe freely under his own roof. It was unbearable. Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed down the hall, heavy, steady. His father. My son stiffened instantly, like prey sensing danger. His eyes darted to the door, wide, pleading, like he wanted me to shield him from what was coming. The door rattled gently as his father's voice called out, casual, unaware of the storm brewing inside. "You two in there." My son's fingers gripped my wrist tight, almost painfully. "Please, don't tell him, not yet. I'm not ready." I squeezed his hand back, meeting his terrified eyes. My heart was racing, torn between protecting him and the gnawing truth that sooner or later, this secret would find its way into the open, and maybe tonight was the night. The door creaked open before I could even answer, and his father stepped inside. He looked tired, his shirt still tucked in from work, his brow furrowed like it always was at the end of a long day. "What's going on in here?" he asked, his tone casual, though his eyes scanned us both with a trace of curiosity. My son immediately pulled his hands away from mine and sat up straighter, his shoulders stiff. He forced a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Nothing, Dad, just talking with Mom." His father looked at him a moment longer, then at me. I felt his gaze linger, searching, maybe sensing the tension in the room. My heartbeat pounded in my ears as I tried to hold my expression steady. "Talking about what?" he pressed, walking further into the room. "School," my son blurted out quickly. "Just, assignments and stuff." It was such a flimsy excuse, and I could see his father's eyes narrow slightly, not convinced. He looked back at me, waiting for me to confirm, to add weight to my son's fragile lie. For a split second, the room felt like a battlefield. My son's secret trembling in the air, his father's suspicion sharpening, and me standing in the middle, holding a truth I wasn't sure I was strong enough to keep. I swallowed hard and nodded. "Yeah, just school." His father's shoulders relaxed slightly, though the doubt didn't completely leave his face. He gave a short nod, then sighed. "All right, well, don't stay up too late. You've got an early morning." And just like that, he turned and walked out, the door clicking shut behind him. The silence that followed was suffocating. My son exhaled shakily, burying his face in his hands. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice trembling. "But I don't know how long I can keep this up." The silence after his father left felt louder than any words could. My son sat there, staring at the floor, his fingers twitching against his knees. I could see it in him, the struggle, the war between wanting to let it all out and the fear of what might follow. "Sweetheart," I said softly, my hand hovering near his shoulder before finally resting on it. "You don't have to carry this alone. Whatever it is, I'll listen. I won't judge you. Just talk to me." He shook his head, his voice breaking. "You say that now, Mom, but when you hear it, you might not look at me the same way again." My heart clenched at his words. I leaned closer, keeping my voice steady though I was unraveling inside. "Nothing you could say would make me stop loving you. Nothing, you're my son, that will never change." His chest rose and fell in quick, uneven breaths. Then, finally, he lifted his eyes to mine. They were wet, filled with a pain that made my stomach twist. I've been hiding something for months," he whispered, his voice so faint I had to lean in to catch every word. "Something about me, and I can't pretend anymore." I nodded slowly, encouraging him, trying not to let my own fear creep onto my face. "Okay, take your time, I'm here." Tears slipped down his cheeks. He tried to speak, choked on the words, then wiped at his face angrily. "I don't even know how to start. I feel like, if I say it out loud, it becomes real, and once it's real, I can't take it back." I cupped his face in my hands, forcing him to look at me. Sometimes the things we fear most are the ones we need to release. "Let me carry this with you, please." For a moment, I thought he'd finally tell me everything, his lips parted, his body trembling against my hands. But instead, he broke into sobs, collapsing against me. His arms wrapped tight around me, as though I was his only anchor in a storm that threatened to swallow him whole. "Mom," he gasped into my shoulder. "I can't hold it anymore. I need to tell you. I need you to know. If this story gripped you, don't stop here. Hit like if you felt the emotion. Comment below, what would you have done in this situation?" Subscribe to Broken Trust Diaries for more raw, unfiltered true stories of love, betrayal, and secrets revealed. And don't forget to turn on the bell so you never miss the next story that might feel a little too close to home.